Well, hey everybody, welcome to the Meno Lounge. I'm Julie Gordon White, CEO of MenoWell, Menopause Energy and Protein Bars. We have a great conversation for you today about resilience in midlife. I am so excited to talk about this because in midlife, you're just told to kind of suck it up, especially during menopause. And we're going to dive into that a little bit. And we're going to bring up an incredible speaker. But right before I do, I just want to let you guys know, if you didn't know, one, thanks for your patience as we continue to be out of stock on double chocolate brownie. Should be our production run at the end of the month because we just sold out. We gave so many away for the M Factor films and everybody got a big rush in December. So we just produced new peanut butter chocolate with 8 grams of protein and 25% of your daily fiber. So it's really going to help you crush your January goals along with blueberry lemon. So if you need to swap out that sweet thing you want in the morning, have that instead. We just produced those two. They are so just yummy, soft, delicious. So grab those. So peanut butter chocolate, fresh blueberry lemon. We put a little sale for you on our site and on Amazon. So jump over there. Okay, without further ado, I am bringing up chat here, Tissa Richards. Here we go. Coming up, Tissa. It's always a fun part. Should I sing? Hey, Tissa. Let's see. Somebody sing. Just kidding. Oh boy. Here we go. All right, Tissa. I know you're doing it's her first Instagram live. You know what that's like? Sometimes it's a little stressful. Okay, Tissa, I sent you the invite to come up. You can do it. This is where the resilience part comes in. You don't want to miss this, so don't go away as we grab Tissa here. Tissa Richards coming up. She's a TEDx speaker. She is a frequent keynote all on leadership and resilience. She coaches in a group format and individually. Tissa, it's saying that you are not able to join, so let's keep trying. Maybe you need to update your Instagram, probably not, but I know it's your first time, so keep going. I'm going to accept your invitation. She says something really cool about how women are speaking to ourselves backwards. There you are.
That was a little wild. It was not nerve-wracking. It's just I've never done it before. Hi, Julie.
Hi. I know it's a little bit stressful, especially your first time. You're like, how do I do this thing?
What am I doing wrong? Yes.
Okay, we're talking about resilience today, so you got the test right before.
And I thought I practiced it all. I was like, I'm sitting here, I'm all set. And then it was like, wait, you didn't give Instagram all the access. I was like, all right, hold on. Yeah. Hello.
But we just keep going. So I think that is a beautiful way to start our conversation today. I'm just waving at everybody hopping in about resilience, especially in midlife, especially when you're going through menopause, like all the things you're in, in corporate or you have a business, dealing with all the stuff and all the ways we feel through the menopausal transition. That is a lot, and resilience is important, but I love that you say we speak about ourselves backwards. So anyway, I don't know if you heard while you were hopping on, I was telling everybody that you're a TEDx speaker, frequent keynote, you are executive coach, you facilitate in corporate. But you know what I didn't say? I didn't say that you're author of an amazing book called No Permission Needed.
Yes, I love it.
Required
I
reading
had
for
it here
2020.
pulled up, but I didn't think that through. Yes.
I love it. Okay, before we hop into how women speak to ourselves backwards, tell us a little bit about how you landed in this space, Tissa.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have founded software companies and scaled them and just burned out. And, raising money gets really grueling. It's not fun and glamorous like we make it look, on television shows. What's that show? Is it called Silicon Valley or something like that? It's grueling. And after a while, you realize it's not fun anymore. I think without Botox, I look 90 because it just like has sucked my soul out of my body. So I decided to just not do that anymore. And now I am having a blast. I feel like what I do every day is really, it just feeds my soul instead of sucking it out of me. So
Mm,
that's sort of how I got here was thinking of products, funding them, creating companies, and it was great. It led to here. But what gets you here isn't going to get you to the next chapter, right?
that's right. I love that. Marshall Goldstein, right? What got you here won't get you
Yeah.
there. One of my favorite quotes of all time, because we don't waste all the things that we brought forward, but in order to be a new person, to be resilient, we have to become someone different. Identity is huge. So
Yeah,
you and I have
absolutely.
had a lot of conversations in this
We
space, which
we
I
have,
love.
yes.
Okay, so let's go to this thing that you say that I love, that we speak to ourselves backwards. What does that mean?
Yeah, and I don't think it's just women. I think it's everybody. What I find is, when you ask what's the most common question that we get asked is like, tell me about yourself, right?
What do you
Just
do? Yeah.
tell me about, and it's like it's in professional and it's in personal situations. It's social, and I feel like we tend to flip the script on ourselves in a way that comes with some pretty negative consequences. So think about how we tend to answer that. We tend to talk about all the things we do and how we do it and what we do. And by the time we do that, people's attention, their heads are so jammed full of details and their eyes are glazing over and they're sort of like, great, I now know all the places you've lived and the people you've worked for and why you moved or things like that. But I don't necessarily know what, why, what's your why? What's your so what? I don't really know how to anchor you in my head. And because
Mm,
of that, people aren't going to take the time and the energy to do that for you. And so we all end up sounding pretty generic, or we sound like all we do is a lot of
mm.
how. And I think it's so much more powerful if we can take the time to think about what is your so what. So if somebody says, hey, tell me, I have this little formula, which is I create these outcomes for these people, and then a little bit of, and I do it this way. But the how you do it is the smallest impact piece. Nobody really cares how you
The
execute.
process,
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that becomes how you sort of literally cognitively anchor yourself in people's minds. And then a few weeks later, they'll be having a conversation and they'll go, whoa, wait, wait, whoa, wait. Have you ever met Julie? I think you two need to meet. And now you're being impactful. You're finding your signal in your noise. You're signaling that you're confident, that you know what outcomes you create, and you're making it easy for people to go talk about you
Mm,
and evangelize for you. And it's a way to, I think, just create such big outcomes for yourself.
I love that. Especially as we get to midlife and we were maybe making some changes, having a transformation, or sort of stuck and not knowing who we are in this next phase. So leaning into this, and you snuck in so what, but let's go a little bit deeper. What does that mean, so what? Because I think that really unlocks what you're talking about being more memorable or having a bigger impact.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really think that when you think about it, if you say to somebody, I'm just going to pull this. I mean, think about you. Let's use you for an example. If you just told people, "Oh, I run a company and we create these great bars." Okay,
So
what's the so
what?
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like you lose so much there. Or if you are in customer experience and you say, "Oh, I just optimize the customer experience for people." So what? When you do that, you're actually really making sure that people are coming back. There's recurring revenue, there's competitive differentiation, there's always an outcome that's associated with everything you do. And I think
Mm,
when you preface with that, people suddenly can go, oh my God, I understand your
mm,
work. I understand why you. I think so what is also why you. It's what is your differentiator in the world? And how should I go out and be talking about you and evangelizing for you?
mm. So it's it's the outcome that we provide with what I would call our superpowers in the world, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily how we get there, not the process, and not a title, but really how we make that impact with what we do, right? So the so what is not like, well, so what? It's like so I can help, blah blah
Yes.
blah. That right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think when I say so what, it's because I feel like there's something missing. You know, when someone introduces me, I'm like, so what? So keep going. You're not done, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. I think a lot of times people will tell me what their superpower is. And a lot of times it's something like, well, my superpower is empathy or my superpower is compassion. Those are great, but those don't necessarily tell people what that's going to do for them or for you.
Mm,
So I think people actually attach that to the outcome. So they'll say, if you say, I lead with empathy, great. And I do that so that
mm-hmm.
people are safe and seen, that creates psychological safety, and people will experiment and innovate because I am a product person. And that means that we can continue iterating. You gotta attach it
Yeah.
to this, but no one's ever come to me and said, who's the most empathetic person you know? We need an executive.
Right.
No, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I love that you talk about outcome because that's something, we've talked about coaching a lot,
Yeah.
and everything really needs to be outcome based. What outcome does your customer want? What outcome do you want? That we have to lean into that because that's where results and impact are.
Yeah.
And how do we help, especially women in midlife who don't know what their outcome is anymore? They don't know, they've lost, they're sort of out of that resilience loop of things. And I don't feel resilient anymore because they sort of lost their way in knowing what their outcome is. What might we share with them to help navigate through?
Yeah, and I always say this, if you have a job, if someone's paying you to do something, you're creating outcomes. Otherwise, that person should not be writing a check, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's going back and even doing this like mental exercise of, if I wasn't doing this, what wouldn't happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because that sometimes doing it in reverse,
Yeah.
it maybe is helpful than doing it going forwards. So if I didn't do what I do, what wouldn't get done? What wouldn't be enabled or achieved? And sometimes people will also say, gosh, I've done so much in my career. I'm at this point, I'm looking back, and it seems like there's no connective tissue, there's no threads. Well, there's has to be threads. No one would trust you. They wouldn't bring you if it seems like you've had this really diverse experience set. There's still a thread because somebody trusted you and said, wow, you did this, then you did this. They look like they're not connected, but there is a connection. And it's sort of like ask yourself, what do people come to me for? What would happen if I didn't do this? What would fall over? And when you start writing that stuff down, you go, oh, yeah. And so it's not just what did you do, but what did it enable? It's almost like
Mm.
picture a toddler. Why? And eventually you get to the so what.
Yeah, I love that. I've said, go 5 whys deep, right? Because the first ones are really the easy, just superficial, but you don't really get to the good stuff till you get 5 layers, 5 whys deep into
Exactly.
something.
Yeah.
What about when you do the work and you know your outcome, but your outcomes aren't aligned anymore? Because that's what I notice with a lot of women in midlife is that, they've spent a lot of time doing X, kind of like you. You worked really hard in corporate and tech, you've raised money, you've done some incredibly powerful things. But then at some point, our outcomes aren't aligned with who we want to be in the next phase of our lives. Then what?
Yeah. When you think about it, I think even if you make a pivot, it's still, I mean, it's somewhat aligned, right? So I took the lessons of being a tech CEO and applied them to what I do now. So now when I coach a CEO or I work with an entire executive team, they're not really disparate. It just feeds my soul a little bit more. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
it's this sort of how to be really clear, how to have hard conversations, how to make strategic decisions, use your values to guide you, things like that. But I'm doing it, I'm just applying it in a different place that for me is not as grueling, is not as exhausting, and is more fulfilling. So I
Yeah.
think you can make that pivot and it's still very congruent. So I think it's a lot of times when especially when I'm working with people in transition, I'll say, what did you love? What did you not love? What do you never want to do again? So you're kind of starting to make these almost lists. And
Mm,
when you're like, well, I'm really good at this. Great. Where can you go do that? What do people come to you for over and over? And some people will say, oh, like people come to me for turnarounds and well, I don't ever want to do that again. Great. Don't make that part of your narrative, right?
Right. Right.
Because I still don't think you're going to abandon those years of experience that you bring to the table. You just might point it at a different place.
Yeah. I so agree with that. No experience, no stone is wasted ever.
No.
We just bring that forward, but we can shed some of the things we don't need anymore or the things that don't fit and find a new way to maybe just morph that experience that we have, the parts that we want to carry forward
Yeah.
into something that really fits us
Yeah.
better. Yeah, I love that. So good. Okay, so that is a perfect segue to me into your book, which I
Yes.
don't know why I haven't read that yet, but I am going to
Gotta
read
hurry
it.
up because the next one's
Okay,
coming. So,
good.
yes.
I like like a trilogy, so maybe there's a third one too. But
Yeah.
no permission needed. Tell us about that. Like, why did you write that book? Why that title? And what are some of the golden nuggets we can take from that?
Yeah, I think that the title really came from the fact, and I wrote it for women, and ironically, a lot of men reach out and say how much they love it. And I thought, well, that's really cool. Yeah.
Men eat our bars too, by the way. They, designed completely for women, but men love, especially those chocolate ones. They already find them in their pocket.
Really
So
good. So I totally get that. Yeah, I wrote it because I felt like I was saying, and I'm sure you notice this with coaching too, right? A lot of times you find yourself saying the same thing or the same core message. And so many women would come to me and say this, well, I'm sure that you've never heard this before, or I'm sure I'm the only one that feels this way. But,
they're like,
um,
sorry,
you know, yeah,
not that unique, right?
yeah, yeah, I get paid a lot of money to do this, and I really feel like one day someone's going to look at me and say, I'm on to you. You're not that good, or whatever it is. And I just realized that what we're just not good at is having that swagger. And that's the name of the third book, by the way. So the next one is about resilience, and the third one is about swagger, which is to me, it's confidence without arrogance.
Mm,
I just
yes.
I just sort of realized that everybody has this inside of them, but I think so many people are waiting for an external validation or permission to go and say these things
Mhm.
about themselves. And that's why my three favorite words are not I love you. They are I'm known for. They're
Ooh.
powerful.
Oh, wait. I thought you were going to say your three favorite words were no permission needed,
No,
but they are, say it again.
I'm known for. Yeah, doesn't it kind of give you chills? So, like, imagine if someone says, tell me about yourself, and you start the sentence with, well, Julie, it's great to be here. I'm known for, and then you have 1 to 2 sentences that are just powerful instead of a 3-minute long, unfocused spiel about everything.
Right.
And it's such a strong signal. It says, I know myself. I am confident enough to just boil it down for you. And when you start a sentence with those words, it changes everything for you and other people. I've had to coach women into saying this because they're like, that's so arrogant. And
No
it's
way.
not.
It's
It's not.
badass.
It
It's bad. Not only is it bad, I mean, it's clear,
is.
it's direct. It's full of
It
swagger, right?
is.
Because it's a confident statement without arrogance. It's just that you get yourself. And
Yes.
it's so, I love that.
It's
Okay,
also
what,
controls the
Tissa?
narrative for other people. It says you should know me for this
Right,
too, right? Don't
right.
don't come in and put your narrative on me. So it's a really beautiful construct.
So,
And
I'm
I
going
love.
to ask you, Tissa, what are you known for?
Oh, it's so funny. I spend so much time helping other people. I think I'm known for helping people, or helping teams and organizations actually create a lot of value by being able to communicate without friction and build their resilience this way. If you can communicate so clearly about yourself, about your product, about your company, everything just gets easier, right?
So good.
We don't have to use a lot of words. We don't have to, apologize. We don't If you can just think about the words you use, if you have this on your resume or your LinkedIn, take it off. Like, I'm a leader, senior leader, passionate about success. Of course you are. Take it off. It's a lot of stuff I have to wade through to get to who you are.
Right. We don't need to state the obvious, the things that should. It's kind of like it's a quality product. Well, of course it should be quality. You don't need to say that.
You ever drive by a house like that's for sale and it says I'm beautiful inside? And I think, wow, it's like you're telling me I didn't think you were ugly.
You
But now I
better be. I love that. Okay, that is so good. And can I just share? I'm not even going to ask permission. I'm just going to say, I am known for inspiring women to live their best lives. And today it's through nutrition and menopause, midlife.
and see, so clear, right? It's one sentence that's like, because you know what value you bring to the world.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the interesting thing is when we land on this, what you're known for, you'll see it through thread, because it's who I've always been, right? Helping women believe in themselves and live powerfully in their own truth. And it's just changed the vehicle that it's come through, the channel, but who you are is who you are.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you're so clear on this. You actually came up in a conversation I had with someone the other day, and she said, "Oh, I know Julie." And so it's because you're so precise about
Mm.
what you're for, and therefore none of us are out there in the marketplace going, "No, that's not what she's known for. She's known for that." No, you own your narrative. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't always happen that way, right? And so maybe, also I think being in your 50s, that really, we just find our way to no permission needed, like I don't even ask anybody that anything, but definitely in my 40s, I was asking permission for
Yeah.
sure, subtly, but still asking. So
Yeah.
it's a transition, it's a journey. So we don't need to judge ourselves, right? No matter where we are,
Oh,
if you're still asking for permission, but there is
absolutely.
kind of like a secret door that opens up at 50. Like whatever.
There is, and this is actually why the focus of this next book is about resilience, because I think as you start to do this, you start to realize like, wow, there's so much that's going on, right? Especially like now more than ever before. And it can get really tiring to try to always figure out like, who am I? How am I going to react to things? How am I like, if you can actually realize that resilience is not about bouncing back, it's about having a really strong, centered self. Like, I feel like if you're unshakable, you never need to bounce back.
Mm, mm,
It, and these are all parts of it, knowing who you are, knowing your values, knowing the value you bring. I think it just prevents you from burning out a little bit. So having this confidence is a part of that.
yeah, I love that because you said another magic word, not a fun word, but burnout. I think a lot of women, especially in midlife, struggle with burnout. And I even know when I first launched MenoWell, I was working 7 days a week and I don't know, 12, 15 hours a day. And then at some point I realized, this is not sustainable and I don't actually need to. Like that served its purpose at a certain point, but that is not going to serve me long term. So it's important that we figure out how we can be resilient and unshakable in ourselves. And part of that, not needing to ask permission. So we can, we just got some love here from For Love NYC about that. About keeping us from burnout, right? Then you don't have all that bounce back and things because without releasing the need for permission and finding our way to more resilience, trusting ourselves, we get so burned out. Tissa, I'm sure you talk to people all the time, especially women.
Well, I do. And, as a founder, and so, as you're saying, when you start MenoWell, and it is, when you launch a company or any sort of venture or a family, you have to be all in because it's on your shoulders. But then I think I realized pretty quickly, if you're not thriving, the people who rely on you are not thriving.
Yeah.
And so whether you're the CEO of your household, of your company, so your business can't thrive if you aren't thriving. So
Right.
it's like you have to go refill your cup if you want anything else around you to survive. But we tend to put our own cups last. I think that's a very woman
Right.
thing. And I think it's in this case, you have to give yourself permission to do this. You have to literally say, I am burning out. I have to go take care of myself. Otherwise, I can't take care of you. Like
Right.
that's full stop. Whether you work for me, you work with me, I am your mother, whoever it is, like I can't put myself last. And that's a confidence thing, that's a resilience thing, and that's just a factual thing, isn't it?
It really is. And as women, I think it's a practice, just like we practice yoga or fitness or meditation, getting to this point where, we pour into our own cup. Sometimes we forget we might do really well for a period of time, but then we get into that default backs against the wall, this or that. Things happen in life because it's life and we forget to pour in our own cup. But It's why I get up at 5 in the morning now, because I need to make sure that I have at least that hour of meditation, quiet time, because that's when I pour into my cup. And without that, my day is not the same. Not the same. How about you? What are some of the practices that you do to keep to pour into your cup?
Yeah, so I definitely, if I'm not exercising, then I start to feel actually almost resentful
Mm,
because I start, wait, you are all, and that's just whoever's on my count. I'm like, you're all taking away from my time. So, I try to block time out on my calendar, and it's not the same time every day because it can't be, but really trying to block that time out. And that has to be almost inviolable time.
mm,
Does that make sense? So easy
mhm.
to, oh yeah, no, this meeting's important. And everything's important.
Right.
It's
Everything.
everything's important. And so just some of that. So physical health, my sleep hygiene is really important to me,
Huge.
and it's getting harder and harder to sleep. That's just the nature of this time of life. And so, especially when you travel a lot, so sometimes you're up at 4:30 in the morning to catch a flight. And so just knowing that you have sleep debt, that you have to move around the chessboard a little bit. And just knowing at the end of the day, you can always work another few hours. That thing of I
Right.
just finish up this work, it'll never be finished. So
It's never
just,
done. Right.
you
It was
know,
the old days, like, empty your inbox. Like, that's just a joke. So forget it. I love that you said that as a part of, how you pour into yourself, about working out, because you said, I don't do it at the same time every day. Because that used to really hang me up. Like, if I missed my scheduled workout, like, shoot, gone, move on, didn't get to. And I fairly recently started just like, oh, I have a half an hour here, or 40 minutes is all only block I need, because I can get in a good resistance training, for 25 minutes. It's better than
it's
zero. So
totally, and this sounds like ridiculous. My dog could walk for 3, 4 miles and she's little and old. But like, even if somebody doesn't show up for a call or has to cancel last minute, I think, okay, it's 25 minutes. We're literally just gonna walk around the block so she can go sniff and be happy. I get some fresh air, and I'm like, that's better than nothing. Like, it doesn't have to be, sometimes you have this perfect workout planned in your mind and it's gonna be 90 minutes at the gym. And sometimes that doesn't happen. And I'm like, hey, at least I got outside. I have a set of weights that I keep by my desk. Like, I have a treadmill pad under my desk. And so you'll see, like, I always ask people, is this making you seasick? And if it's not,
I have one in my office, but I haven't put it under my desk yet, because someone told me, if you start walking on that treadmill while I'm talking to you, I'm not gonna. I'm like,
I
okay, but still.
I just do it. You don't ask for permission. You just,
See, thank you for
yeah,
catching me.
see? And you can easily get another 3, 4, 5 miles in a day.
Yeah, yeah.
And it all
Thank
adds up.
That all adds up. All the things add up. We have to pour into our
That's
cup. It is a huge
that's-
part of resilience.
it is. It really is. Otherwise, by the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, I am tired. I just want to turn off my brain and turn off my all the things.
Right. Completely drained. Let's see. Food, Family, and Travel said she loves it. And yes, you are. Health coach Angela, yes, you are. Let's see. I'm zooming through. Angela says, so true. People follow an example, not advice, in her experience. And she would know.
Totally. And actually, Angela, you're the one who said it all adds up, and it's totally right. It's the little 5 minutes throughout the day can add up to a whole hour, and there you go. You have it.
I love that, because this is all leads, into resilience. I don't know what we think resilience is supposed to be. We're supposed to be tough and just handle anything. But all of these little practices of moving our body a lot or a little, making time for ourselves, eating well, sleep, not asking permission, all of those are part of I don't want to say formula, because that sounds formal, but they add up to being resilient, especially in midlife when everything else feels a little extra hard.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that's what this new book is about, and I'm on the circuit now giving this new keynote, and I thought it was interesting because the definition, literally in the dictionary of resilience, is you bounce back from difficult things, and I
Mm,
feel like the woman out there is going to tell you, there's only so many times you can bounce back before you're not bouncy and you hit the ground and you're like, I heard the thud and I'm not getting back up, right?
Right,
And I
right.
don't think that definition serves us very well.
Mm,
And while what it's almost like that attribution theory. Like after a while, we assign the blame or the failure to ourselves instead of to the definition.
mm,
And so we feel like we're failing at resilience. It's not us. It's the definition is failing us. It's a very, it's a very narrow way of looking at it. Um, because if you think about it, it's kind of isolating. It means you're the one who has to bounce back on your own from crisis. It's crisis driven. You're only going to need this in a hard time. And it's very, very reactive. Oh, just when stuff happens.
mm.
But that's not how it works, right? Like we're all part of communities of just all sorts of different things. And we need some form of resilience for like really big things, but also just the everyday stuff. Like I didn't sleep well, my kid did something stupid or whatever. And so I think shifting it upstream into a very proactive type of mindset where it's a muscle.
Mm.
I think it's a muscle. We all have it.
Yes.
So you can strengthen this so it's every day. Like I am going to choose
Mm,
resilience. I'm
mm.
going to make this something that I can figure out how to be that unshakable person. So that even if something big happens, I've sort of practiced this mindset and this skill set.
Yeah.
And whether that's setting boundaries, saying no, doing sleep hygiene, whatever it is, I'm going to build my resilience around myself. And it's not crisis driven. Yeah.
I
Put on
love that.
my own oxygen mask on first. Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what Martha said there. I love you're talking about building a resilience muscle. That's how I think about it too. A good friend of mine who's an executive coach talked about keeping your knees bent. That's how I stay unshakable, by just staying flexible, knees bent, and that way you can adjust when you need to. And
Yeah.
if you're stiff, then it's hard to be resilient or flexible when things are different than what you planned, right? Not broken or terrible, or maybe they are, but they're just
Yeah.
different. It's how you see it. But I'd use the word choose also. Choose resilience, because we can choose to believe and perceive something that happens to us, small or large, right? Or we can choose to think, okay, this is a big deal or not a big deal. We can choose to be resilient. It's right there for us to
It,
grab onto.
it becomes almost a competitive advantage because
Mm,
you're literally I am choosing this. I think, and it kind of reminds me of the first conversation you and I had, because I had not that long before told you I was out for dinner with a group of girlfriends, and a couple of us went to the restroom, and I told them, I said, I am choosing not to go through menopause. I mean, of course, my body will, but I'm
right,
choosing
right,
that I'm
right.
like, I'm not going to let it be a horrible experience for me. And
Yes.
a bunch of women of all different ages in the restroom, and of course, the older ones all burst out laughing, like, oh, well, that's so cute of you. And and then probably the other five women were like, oh, well, and everybody starts chatting about it and what their experience is. And it was funny because I remember just thinking, no, I am making this, I'm choosing this.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be a big, terrible thing. I'm proactively deciding how this is going to impact me,
Right.
you know?
And I love that, because your body is still going to go through what it goes through, but you're choosing to attach a meaning to that experience. And it's not going to be a negative one. It's going to be an empowering one, or
Mm.
beautiful one, or whatever the words are that you selected. But I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Choose, choose your adventure. That's what I say, Tissa.
That's,
Choose your adventure.
that's
How
right.
about some tips for women who, as we kind of pull this together, are thinking, okay, we've talked about a lot of things, but about being, how can you be resilient, and sort of rethink our way through what resilience
Yeah.
is?
I think there's a couple of, specific skill sets that you can think about pretty easily, right? I think one of them is know your compass. And by that, I literally mean what are it's like your non-negotiables. And this can be two or three values that if you don't know them when the stakes are low, it's going to be hard to suddenly grab for them when things are bigger. So just think, what are the two to three values that and you've probably already got them because it's how you've decided to make decisions in your life and in your work. But just bring them literally to the top of your mind consciously, because that is a compass that you can use to sort of dial down big things.
Mm,
Um, where you can literally de-escalate some things that, sometimes you get a text, you get an email, you get a whatever, where you're like, and it gets you can feel your adrenaline up. But you can kind of replace that reaction with a response by giving yourself a little bit of breathing space. This is a very intentional thing. It's not good for you to have that fight or flight reaction. So
Right.
give your body that little bit of time. Think about what values you're going to apply, and then say to yourself, I'm going to make this into a muscle memory. And as you tell yourself that, you're literally thinking, this is about preparation, this is about prioritization. Um, as you start to think about this, you can even ask yourself, like, am I reacting? Am I responding?
Mm.
Is it a flight, or am I doing what's right? There's a few things you can do that throughout the day, you're literally just making every situation easier. Because
I love that.
isn't that just going to make your whole day with less friction?
That you said, I mean, such a small nuance, but so powerful. Are you reacting or are you responding? Reacting hits that fight or flight,
Yeah.
and that takes away, it diminishes our resilience. But responding is thoughtful, taking a pause, and
Yeah.
how do I want to respond in this situation?
And
Very powerful.
and it's healthier because when you think about it, that visceral fight or flight reaction, it releases adrenaline and cortisol, which we all know we don't
Yeah, you
want.
said visceral. The next thing, of course, in my mind, I'm thinking visceral fat. Not our
Well,
friend. Not our friend.
and when we
Right.
have
Let's
adrenaline,
not feed it.
that's not, and of course, cortisol is not good for your fat, right? So it's actually literally healthier for you to ask yourself, wait, can I replace this reaction with a response?
Mm.
Um, because, and this is maybe it's tight, whatever your practice is, maybe you do meditation, maybe you do um, mindfulness, whatever it is, if you can start to just replace those, you can literally dial this down. And we talked about burnout. This directly contributes because every time you have that visceral reaction, it contributes to a lot of health problems. So if
Mm-hmm.
you become a more proactively resilient person, you will be healthier.
Yeah. Build that muscle.
Build
I
them.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Like
Anything else?
exercise,
Right.
skip the gym, go to the resilience gym. You're
Go to
good.
the resilience gym. Yes, we can do all the things. You can
All
work on your resilience gym when you're at the gym. Do the two things. That last set, you're like, oh God,
yeah.
like I was this morning about the ab workout, like, oh, okay, I can do it. I can do
I'm really bad at going, I think I've done enough sets.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, Angela would say, look at one more, one more, one more. Okay, good. All right, Tissa, what else, anything else you have in your wizardry you want to share, or should we save something for the next time?
Let's save something, but let's do another one. Can I also just tell you that I did think of you the other day? As women, when you go to these events, like a conference or you're speaking, and you're always like, it's so cold in here. It's always like, we always bring it. The past year, I've been like, I'm so delighted that conferences are taking into account women's thermometers and making it warmer. No, it's my own thermostat, Julie. So, and I just had to laugh because I was thinking about you the other day when I was like, I don't need to bring a sweater. I got my own. And it just like reminds, like sometimes you're literally like, this cannot possibly be me.
Yes.
Yeah, it can be you.
It's you. I love that. But see, that is a perfect example of the resilience that you have created, because you didn't get mad. Like, why is it hot in here? You just said, oh, I have my own sweater. Everything is perfect.
Been walking around thanking event organizers for making it so much more temperate when really I am just furnacing the buildings for people. But I just yeah, forgot to mention all the other cold women. But yeah, so I had to laugh because I was like, I think this is a story Julie will
I love
like.
that. Power of the pause, sister.
I
That's all I'm saying.
know.
Okay, my last question. We are MenoWell, and what does MenoWell mean to you, especially if we kind of put it in that resilience frame?
Yeah, I mean, think this is exactly what we talked about. I think when you can intentionally be resilient, you are thinking about your health, right? You're thinking
Mhm.
about this, um, because this isn't just about your physical health. This is literally about your your confidence is your health. Your not being burned out, not letting yourself get thrown off balance is about your health. So I do think resilience is really tied into your overall well-being. And that's, I know, one of the reasons we said, I think this would be a topic that fits in.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in midlife, especially through the perimenopause, menopause transition, being able to be resilient as we are navigating a new body and the way it feels and the things we don't understand, and maybe a doctor who's not supportive, or partnerships. There's so many things happening. And so the more we can understand how to build our resilience muscle, not just our muscle, but this one up here,
Of them, right? They
all the
both,
thing, all of
yeah,
it just helps us actually do what you've decided to do, is transition through menopause joyfully, powerfully, and not terribly,
yeah,
regardless of what happens physically.
exactly. And I think that's it, right? Make a choice for yourself. You don't need anyone else's permission, your doctors or whatever, right? You are in
I love
charge. That's
it.
powerful.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that is the perfect reminder. After this live, first of all, follow Tissa right here. You can grab her here, and so you can get all of her goodness. But go get her book, No Permission Required, so you can have the first, and then the second, Resilience, is coming out. When is
It will
that
be out
going to be? The
or October. And of course I will send it to you when it's about when the pre-order's ready.
I
Yeah.
love it. We can come back on and talk about it some more, and then the last one in the sequel, which will be Swagger, which
The key
yes.
is to confidence without arrogance.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good. And a little bit of arrogance, like, I don't know, own it.
I
I'm not mad about that.
don't think it should be a dirty word, right?
Especially for women. I think we need a little sprinkle of that often. So,
I agree.
anywho, Tissa, if women are working in teams, they're interested in executive coaching, group, individual. I see Meryl just hopped on. Hi, Meryl. And
Note,
Natasha with Fashion Alley says, "Oh, swagger, love that," because she has a lot of swagger, so she gets it. I know. How can they learn about your services that you provide on the executive coaching leadership side as well?
yeah, and I do a lot of keynotes and courses. So my website is my name, tissarichards.com, or find me on LinkedIn or here and just shoot me a message. I love it is very, very fun work.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
so good at it. And your TEDx talk too. They want to get a little sprinkle of you
Yeah,
there. So a
absolutely.
lot of goodness, a lot of goodness. Tissa, thank you for being here. We are super fans. We send MenoWell bars to all your incredible executive retreats,
And we appreciate you, and that's when I became a convert, right? So yes.
I love it. Well, to be continued. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Off to a resilient rest of the week.
Thank you for letting me figure out how to do this. So
Look at you. Woo. You're a pro now. Go get them. All right, everybody. Have a super week, and MenoWell. See you next time. Take
bye.
care. Bye-bye.